Hello and welcome all of you wonderful pod people out there. Thanks for joining the Now We Know Better podcast. My name is Wim Vanderzam and I am your moderator, keeping this conversation bouncing like popcorn in a hot pan. Not bad.
That's a very good analogy. I love it. You're a metaphorical genius, Wim.
Thank you. During the next hour or so, we'll try really hard to inform you, entertain you, and share our valuable opinions. Hey, one man's junk is another man's treasure. Today with my two pod colleagues, we will be discussing the future of one prominent political figure in Canada, the many faces of artificial intelligence, the parliamentary stunt by the Conservatives this past week, and what does it take to live at the poverty line?
Mm-hmm.
Lots to chat about today. Of course, we've got the email bag just around the corner because we always love to hear from our loyal listener. We'll also have our extremely popular predictions segment. Stay tuned for that and join along. Mark it down, jot your prediction down alongside ours and see how we all did. See if we can get it right. And then, of course, everyone always loves our world-renowned point-counterpoint segment where my two pod colleagues duel head-to-head over current affair topics. Let's see how it plays out between David and Tom today. But first, we welcome the other two pod members, Telecommunications Goliath, Mr. Tom MacDonald. How is Tommy today?
Good today. Things are going good. My back injury, do you guys know you have a quadratus lumborum inside you?
I felt it the other day.
You shouldn't say that in public.
Oh, sorry.
I had mine removed.
Well, if you did, you wouldn't be standing right now because it's one of the large muscles in your back that connects the top of your hip to your spine. And I found out, just a quick little anecdote here. I found out after, in my 60s, that you're not supposed to static stretch before you play an explosive sport like hockey. Static stretching is the last thing you want to do. Well, guess what I was doing? I was static stretching, which is where you take a stretch and then you hold it, for a long time. Yeah. And that causes injuries because it tears the little muscle fibers. And then when you have to do a quick rotational or explosive rotational or a burst of speed, the muscles are already damaged a little bit because you static stretched before hockey. So you just do dynamic stretching, which is just basically movement. And I had 2 injuries in the last 3 months because I static stretched both times in the dressing room. I thought I was doing good, but I was actually hurting my body. So I pulled my quadratus lumborum, 2nd-degree strain. It's been about a week, but I was on the ice today and it feels pretty good. So for all you rec hockey players out there that are 50, 60 plus, don't static stretch before a game. That's the wrong thing to do. Dynamically exercise to warm up those muscles, and then you're good to go.
Well,
yeah.
Sports injury specialist Tom MacDonald, thank you very much.
Right.
Maybe have you ever
anything related to age? No.
No, or that you're a shitty hocky player. But other than that,
what the heck?
Well, to his left, my right. Not sure where it is on your screen, folks, but Mr. Know-It-All himself, the global property management mogul, Mr. David Vanderzalm. Welcome, Dave.
Hey. In keeping with Tom's issues, I have hip issues this week.
Which one?
He's talking physical, not mental.
So I curled Thursday night, and I felt my hip was not quite right. Well, I could deliver the rock, so I could push out of the hack, but I couldn't support the motion as I'm pushing down the ice to sweep the rock. So all I could do was throw my stones, and then I sat in the bench and cheerleaded for the team. And we lost quite badly.
Let's go back to Tom's original comments. It has nothing to do with age, or that maybe you're just a shitty curler.
You know what? And we don't static stretch. We don't stretch at all.
Whoa.
You drink though, right?
Afterwards.
You are a renegade.
Yes.
Okay, well, we're going to get this pod going because our listener is very busy, and we don't want to hold things up with your idle chatter. But to get things going, as usual, we'll go straight to the email bag. And listen.
Okay.
Well, listen, wait for it. Wait for it.
That's always
Here it
good.
comes.
Dead air.
Here it comes.
That's good air. A dead air is never good air.
Oh,
Actually.
hang on.
All right, we are ready.
Email bags. What's inside the email bag? Pick it open, zip and zip. Let's see what you all to ship. Email bag. Email bag. Email.
All right.
That was a very polished handoff. Well done.
Audience, this podcast is still in its infancy and might remain so for another decade. So take what you can get. All right. Well, we are now officially inside the email bag.
Okay.
And this one comes from Joan G. of Anchorage, Alaska. Huh. Who knew? I guess there's not really a lot to do in Anchorage in December, and so she must be a little bored. Why else would she be listening? Well, thank you, Joan, for the question. And Joan's query, I heard the Conservatives brought forward something in Parliament about building an oil pipeline to Canada's west coast, but I didn't really get it. Was this an actual bill to build a pipeline or just a political move? And why was it considered such a unique situation? The media was playing it up like it was some grandioso thing, but it then just fizzled out shortly thereafter, which she's right. Can you explain this with a little more detail? Well, thanks, Joan. Good question, actually, because it is something that is unique. We haven't seen anything like that. I've never actually seen anything like this. And for context, the uniqueness lies in the fact that the Conservative motion wasn't a standard piece of legislation. It was a non-binding parliamentary motion that kind of borrowed language directly from a federal provincial energy agreement, and it challenged existing federal law, which was the BC oil tanker ban moratorium. Anyway, while forcing the governing Liberals to take a public stance, so we know how they stand on it. But it didn't play out that way. What do you guys think? Tom, was this just political theater that didn't kind of really accomplish anything?
Yeah, I think so, because the opposition is somewhat limited during question period in introducing bills or motions.
Right.
So obviously the Liberals aren't going to vote for it, even if it's what they're trying to do with their MOU. So it was political theater. I guess what the Conservatives are trying to show is the hypocrisy maybe with the Liberals, that they really don't want a pipeline. They're just doing all the formalities. It's starting to look, I know Dave loves Mark Carney and thinks he's the wonderkind, but I don't know. It's starting to see the words are starting to sound hollow now. It's been quite a few months.
Yeah.
And I don't know, if you compare Trump to Carney, Trump's completely stopped. It's down 99.9%. The flood of illegal immigrants coming across the border. He's he's mobilized thousands and thousands of federal employees, officers, et cetera, to bring crime down and illegal migrancy down. Yeah. And what's Carney done in about the same amount of time?
Well, I mean, I don't think that's fair. Carney's brought peace to the Middle East. He's really? Almost single-handedly negotiating an end to the hostilities between Ukraine and Russia, and he's a head of the G7 effectively with his new trade deals. He's been touring the globe, negotiating new agreements with strategic partners. I don't know where you're getting your information from.
Dave, did that curling stone fall on your head? This guy, you're delusional.
Mark,
did either side win anything here? And what do you think that the Conservatives were looking to gain?
Go ahead, Dave. Take it away.
Really, it was it was seen as a theatrical stunt, and that's how it came across. I mean, particularly when you knew that the Greens and the NDP, I guess his only hope was that the Bloc would vote in favor of the motion, but even the Bloc en masse, I don't know what the final tally on the votes, but it wasn't even close.
No.
What do you say?
Well, their argument was, the Liberals' argument was that the motion didn't include anything regarding carbon capture, and so that was they weren't voting for something that didn't include carbon capture. So they got out of it that way, but I think actually Mark lost on this one.
Mark found that was a key component that was dropped. Like, what was Pierre thinking? I don't think he's that dense. It was an intentional omission, and Mark caught him on it.
Did you think that Poilievre stepped on a rake on that one?
A little bit.
I really do. I think they should have kept the carbon capture in there, because they're going ahead with that based on the MOU anyway.
Yep, exactly.
And so they should have just kept it in there as what they have already agreed to with Alberta. And then Liberals wouldn't have had any way to get out of it other than to say, well, what? I mean, you have an MOU, you're going ahead with it. How can you not vote in favor of this? I think both parties lost on this one, actually.
Interesting. Yeah, I wonder what the proletariat thinks, the average public person out there driving to work or on a public transit system. Do they even care?
Probably
no, they agree with Mark.
Yes. Yep. You're wonderful, Mark Carney, flying all over the world.
We need to change that narrative somehow or another. Just don't agree. They can't just agree en masse without really, knowing all of what's going on, or at least
I think we should get the CBC on it.
All right.
We'll change that narrative.
All right. Well, it was. I think it was a lot of political theater, and I don't think either side won anything, and I think it just got swept under the rug, forever to be left in the dust.
Do you think that there's any clever 3-dimensional chess moves or 4-dimensional chess moves on this from Poilievre, where the mere action of this initiative or bill or presentation in the House somehow will do the butterfly effect, causation effect down the road for Indigenous to line up more with in favor of a pipeline? Is there any sort of pre-calculated things we haven't thought about that are happening with this?
Personally, I don't think there.
I don't think so.
There could be. It wouldn't be with the First Nations, though. I don't see that. But there could be. I mean,
money's going to be the big important factor for the First Nations. That they're going to be bought off.
Yeah,
like there'll be economic incentives. They'll come on board. They'll initially be opposed, and they'll change their mind when they've been sufficient. The wheels have been sufficiently greased.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and when they have decided to make this motion, they can calculate the outcomes, the many scenarios that could occur based on the motion and what the Liberals might do and what they might say. They know the outcome, and so I'm hoping that maybe you're right, Tom, that this is a quad chess move scenario where they're just structuring or conditioning themselves to maybe get more out of this down the road. Could be.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, we shall see. Time will tell.
We shall see. Well, Joan of Anchorage, Alaska. That's good. Anchorage, Alaska.
Yes.
Thanks. That was a great question. Very interesting. And I think there is more to play out with this, and we will see over the next coming weeks, I'm sure. Or maybe we'll see nothing. That might just have fizzled out and be gone. Well, thanks, guys. Good insight there. But now, we wanted to switch things around here, and I didn't do that accurately. Okay.
I could go if you want. That's fine.
Are you ready? Okay.
Yeah, sure. We can talk about it.
Okay, well, today Tom is going to be diving into into a viral post that's turning heads. Apparently, there's a new poverty line, and it may surprise you. Tom, you've tabled this topic. Tell us what the new poverty line is, what it means, and does this there's a claim to be a new poverty line, but truly, is there a new poverty line? Fill us in. Tell us all about it.
Sure. There was a post on Substack that went viral. It was called Part 1, My Life is a Lie, a broken benchmark quietly broke America by Michael W. Green. So I have to give citations where they're due.
Yeah.
And the reason I'm bringing it up is because it went viral on Substack and then outside of Substack. Virtually, I've talked to many financial planners and people in the economic industry side of it, and they've all read it. They've all looked at this. I'm not sure why it was so significant, other than he made the audacious claim that the poverty line is actually around $140,000 a year. This is in America, not in Canada, but you could roughly extrapolate it.
How is that even possible, Tom?
Yeah, well, let me tell you. Let me set a little bit of backstage for this, and then. So back in 1963, there was they came up with a benchmark for the somebody called Molly Orshansky came up with a benchmark, an economist, based on the cost of 3 times a minimum food budget, since families then spent about a third of their income on food. And it really hasn't changed much since then. The official poverty line now in the States, you guys want to take a wild guess as to what the actual, based on Molly Orshansky's poverty line basis for the food times 3 is right now on a yearly basis in the States for a family of 4, poverty line number? Go ahead, give me a shot.
45,000.
I'm going to say 36.
Well, you're very close. It's $31,200 is what they said, and I'm sure that. What's that?
No, I think you just echoed yourself.
Oh, I'm thinking when I read that, I'm going, well, yeah, $32,000, $31,000. That's, gosh, I don't know how a family could live off that.
No, that's poverty line, I would say. Yeah.
Yes. And so the federal Department of Health and Human Services for a family of 4 put it to adjusted it slightly to $32,150, but the median household income is $84,000 in 2024. So you would think $84,000 would take care of it. But Michael Green is the chief strategist and portfolio manager for Simplify Asset Management, came into an argument where he said that if you consider that a household actually spends on childcare, housing, healthcare, and other essentials in 2025, that $80,000 family would be living in deep poverty. And he made an argument for it. So I wanted to just have a roundtable discussion on this, but I'll put out his number. His number is $140,000 for a poverty line for basic needs. So he's saying 2 jobs, 2 kids, based on the average amount that people need. It works out to $140,000. And I just lost my video. That they break down the components. I'll just wing it because I know a little bit about it. They break down the components, and by far the biggest component of the costs to keep a family of 4 going is childcare. They place childcare at $33,000 a year, housing at $24,000, food at $14,000, which is a little over $1,000 a month for 4 people. That seems light to me.
It does seem light for me too.
Yeah, I mean, what's that? $1,000 a month? It's $250 a person for a month to eat.
For a month, I can't see that. I mean, you probably could if you spend wisely and cook the right type of foods, do everything from scratch. Shop on sales. I mean, probably could do it.
Yeah, Yeah.
Yeah.
And then he
Why
put,
wouldn't you then?
well,
People
I
are
mean,
too
really,
lazy. A lot of lazy
why-
people out there, Dave.
Why wouldn't you? And also, I would wonder if what's not included in this is what portion of that population that finds themselves in that position are already being assisted with food programs. I mean, I'm of the understanding 1 in 4 people in the U.S. is supported in some way by a food supplement program or initiative.
yeah, and SNAP benefits, or as they used to call them, food stamps. In Canada, I don't know what it is, but if you looked at say 46% of the population on average is employed by the government, various forms of government, that means the other 54% are not working for the government. And so that means that 2 out of 4 are on SNAP benefits, because you have to double it up. If you have it, you have to assume people are working for the government probably aren't on food stamps. You know what I mean?
They didn't include anything like savings or items that the average family does try to include in their monthly budgeting.
Yeah, no.
What did the basket entail?
Yeah, so childcare, 32,000, housing, 24,000, food, $14,000, which is just a little over $1,000 a month for 4 people. That's 250, say $280 a month each. Boy, I would think that school lunch would be about $280 a month just for one kid. But
that didn't add up to 140,000, Tom.
Transportation, 14,800. Healthcare, 10,500. Other essentials, $22,000.
Other essentials.
So that's cell phones and
heat,
Netflix
light
subscriptions.
Electricity, internet, which is now mandatory, not optional. At least that's his claim, and it's pretty much true. You have to admit.
That's true.
Mobile phones. Every kid needs a mobile phone unless they're under what's the age right now? 12.
Why?
Well, I'm just going with
totally the unnecessary
general conventional wisdom that kids have cell phones. I think. Maybe I'm wrong. My kids are 30, so
I would think maybe middle school you start seeing it, but again, out of necessity, no, they don't need a phone.
So
could you live without your flip phone, Dave?
Yeah, how's that Nokia working out for you? Or
that's nasty.
I
hate that triple press to get the right letter.
God, how crazy was that? Jeez.
That was crazy.
Oh, even worse is the BlackBerry, where you look at what you're texting on. Like, how is it humanly possible to actually text a message with that quirky keyboard?
I love that quirky keyboard.
You worked it. You had to work it pretty hard. That's for sure.
Well, yeah, like your finger covered like 4 of the
keys. Okay, if obesity that you kind of seem to be engaged in.
There's my finger. I should be a
finger,
piano player.
Pudgy finger.
Okay,
tell us then. So, okay,
so internet, mobile phone, clothing, education and school costs, school trips, field trips, fees, activities, sports, tutoring if they need tutoring, household essentials, insurance, non-medical insurance, auto insurance, renters, home insurance, life insurance, personal administration costs, banking, ID renewals, modest personal care, haircuts, for instance. What's a haircut going for these days? $50 for a kid? It's crazy. Emergency buffer, minor repairs, replacements, that kind of stuff. What it's not including in that $25,000 or so is vacation, luxury items, dining out regularly, or lifestyle inflation. So what they're saying is that if you cut this category out, you're not trimming fat, you're cutting to the bone. No internet basically equals job risk or school failure. No insurance, financial collapse. No buffer is permanent instability. You could find yourself out on the street. So what do you guys think? Is that, I mean, when you break it down, you can kind of see where they're coming from. with the
That's
140.
ludicrous. It's ludicrous. Tom,
I
tell me,
think-
when you were growing up, how often did you go to a restaurant, an actual restaurant,
Every night.
in a year? In a year, how many times?
We went to okay, well, we were a little different. We went to the mall and we had Salisbury steak and something at the restaurant there. Like, Zeller's had a restaurant, that kind of thing. And we would go in there once a week, I think, like a Friday night or a Saturday night. I think maybe it was less than once a week. Maybe it was once a month.
If we went a couple times a year, that would have been it. But it all goes to what is essential and what isn't essential. If you're, and I would suspect you were in a position where you weren't a family that was at the poverty line. But if you were at the poverty line, you'd probably, be a little bit smarter with how you spent your money. $140,000, my goodness. Poverty is very subjective to this gentleman.
But don't forget, there's tax that comes off that right off the top. 10.6% of Americans are living in poverty in 2024. It's about 40 million people, just under. So about the population of Canada is living in poverty in America, and poverty is at like I said, the $32,000 mark. I don't know how a family of four can actually live on.
Well, I don't think you could. I would suspect that those numbers. If you lived in New York City, I would say probably half the people are living in poverty, just paycheck to paycheck, barely getting by. In urban areas is going to be a bit different than out in the suburbs and in areas of the country that are a little more affordable in terms of rent and even food costs.
Just so you know, that poverty is getting better. I mean, if you can call it that. In the 50s and 60s, it was as high as 22% of Americans were living on the poverty line, based on the modality and algorithms that they used then to determine what poverty meant, which was 3 times your food budget, essentially. It's changed now. But I mean, when you think about it, it's pretty hard to get a house. What's the average? I mean, the house prices have well outstripped wages, well outstripped them.
Depending on where you are.
Well, really?
Yeah, because, in Manitoba, you can get a pretty decent house, like a nice house, 400 grand. That would be over $1 million in Vancouver. Gemini says the official poverty line in Canada is based on the market basket measure, which I've heard about before, which varies by family size and community type. For a single person in 2022, latest detailed threshold available. The poverty line ranged from about 20,000 in rural areas and 25,300 in large metropolitan areas. For a family of 4, the threshold ranged from about 37,000 in rural areas to about 47,000 in large metropolis areas.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Green is trying to argue that there's a valley of death, which is around $80,000. If you're under 80,000 for a family of 4, you are being subsidized. There's different federal programs and state programs, provincial programs that kick in and keep you afloat.
Sure.
But once you hit around $80,000, all those things start dropping off. You're actually worse off if you're between 80 and say $100,000 than you are if you just stay below 80. And it's almost that socialist thing we're talking about, where it's easier, it's better to be poor because you're taken care of. And so he's arguing that the poverty description that we've got, the poverty line it's not just outdated. It distorts the public policy, public perception, and reality. He says that we're measuring starvation thresholds instead of real economic participation, and
that's fair enough. Yeah.
Underestimate how many people are. So it makes it look like poverty's falling, but what's actually shown is a broken measuring stick. So his takeaway basically is that economic rules and benchmarks we used to rely on are no longer meaningful. If you rely on the official poverty line to determine who's doing fine, you're reading it wrong. The real cost of living has far outpaced the metrics we used to measure economic well-being. So his argument is that we need, I think what he's basically saying is we're living a lie when we're saying this is the official poverty line and these are the metrics and the algorithms on how we determine it. And that's bullshit. It's got to be thrown out the window. I don't know what that means for federal government policies, but I think a lot of people are struggling a lot more than we think are struggling out there.
Oh, I know that there's probably more families struggling than are not. And you got to challenge that poverty line thing a little bit. I mean, if you really want to define a poverty line, you have to define poverty. Because yeah, okay, cell phone, should that be included in poverty? If you don't have a cell phone, but you're eating well, you have shelter.
Well, wait a sec. Well, yeah. Because, can I push back on that one? Right. I did read his article, and he had an excellent thing. He said it used to be you could get a landline phone for about $40 a month, right? For a landline phone. Nobody has landline phones anymore, and it's not $40 to have a mobile phone. It's closer to probably double that, $60, maybe $80. And then if you don't have a phone, how can you get a job?
Well, that's fair. That's a good argument. I think you could probably throw some other things out there. If you don't have a car, if you don't have a car, you don't have the cost of the car, you don't have to pay for insurance, you don't have to pay for maintenance. Do you need a car to get to a job? No, there's public transit. And does that make you, does not having a car, make you, does that need to be part of that equation? I guess what I'm saying.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he does throw cost of transport in there. He does. But his numbers even looked very modest. If you peel off the tax off the top of the 140, and then you look at like the food, I don't know, we could look at shelter. Shelter looked very, did you see the shelter price? I guess you didn't see it because I didn't show it to you. But the shelter price was very modest as well. Housing, $23,000 a year. That's $2,000 a month.
Yeah, for a family of four, you're not getting much.
You're not getting much. Transportation, $14,800. That's maybe $1,200 a month. So that includes like insurance, the car, one car, not two cars for mom and dad, one car, and the fuel to put into it. $14,000. Jeez, I don't know. That seems low.
To wrap this up, what's your final take?
Final take is, well, like I mentioned already, I think a lot of people are doing worse off than we really think. And I think that net income of around $100,000 is what you need to get by in major urban areas if you have a family. And you can survive on less than that if you're single and you're eating mac and cheese, you're living in an apartment with 2 or 3 other people. I mean, hence, I don't want to get into immigration and the cultural shift. However, a lot of the new immigrants that are coming in are living multiple people to a home, like not just a single, it's not a single family home anymore. It's a multi-family home. One of the reasons they're doing that is because they can't afford not to.
Well, I mean, in some respects, it's going back to what the norm always was: intergenerational families in a home. I mean, that is what was the norm and became it fell out of favor for the boomers. But before that, it was very common to have your parents, a family, the parents and the grandparents all communing and supporting the viability of a single household. Yeah,
no, you make a good point there. That's true. And we have left that kind of living behind, haven't we, for the most part?
Yeah.
It's coming back, though. I mean, you hear about more young people, first of all, like on the other end of that spectrum, not leaving the house. I mean, I couldn't wait to leave the house. I was 19 and I was out living on my own, had an apartment. But I mean, now it's getting back to the other side of that coin too, whereby to make life more affordable for families, the parents sell their home, move in with the children, and then help support the family financially that way.
That's what
I'm looking to do. I'm gonna pack up here. I haven't picked which child I'm gonna haunt, but I'm moving in, and I don't like to, pay. I don't want to overpay for my rent. My presence should be enough.
The other trap,
well
too,
done.
really quickly, the other trap is the childcare, $33,000. The problem is that you need two earners now, and if you have kids are very expensive. It costs an average of $5,000 to have a kid down in the States, just the outside of insurance, and if you do have two people working, you've got $32,000 in childcare, maybe, unless it's subsidized by your company or by the federal policies that you have to pay, and that's after tax. Now there are tax deductions you can get, but the woman or whoever that person with stay at home is, they've got to earn $50,000. So if they,
Tom, I think you've hit upon probably the most significant part of that whole argument is that, and there's no getting around that. It's what all young families face. And if we're talking about government strategy, I would be sympathetic to the argument that we put much more into childcare in the way of government support. We support moms that decide to stay home and value them as much as the mothers who go out and work. If we look at it as a whole societal thing, you're bringing people in to replace a diminishing native population who is below replacement rate, birth rate. Well, why not invest some of that cost? And don't let anybody tell you that the costs of the immigration policies isn't horrendous. Bury that into supporting your existing population and encourage them to have more kids.
Stay at home.
Yeah, have 4 kids. Hungary, I think after the 4th kid, you do not pay income tax. The mother.
It goes down per kid.
Per kid.
And it hits 0, I think, at 4.
Yeah. Those are incentives that, aren't as expensive when you take the totality of what we're currently spending on the whole project of, growing an economy.
That's a deeper dive, but we should do a topic on that and see exactly how much we're spending on immigration versus what we could do to incentivize moms to stay at home and just have kids.
Absolutely. That'd be a good one.
Well, we have to incentivize, don't we have to incentivize kind of not just mums, but non-mums or wannabe mums or those who identify or want to identify as a mom?
Wait a second. I know where this is going. You're getting into gender fluidity. I don't want to play your game today.
Oh, okay.
Not today.
Okay. Well, thanks, Tom, for that. And okay, mister, we here at the Now We Know Better podcast, as we move on, love to make predictions. Actually, we like to make predictions like they're Coca-Cola.
Oh, no.
Hey, you know what? I may just register that phrase. It's catchy.
I've never heard it before. It's kind of cool.
Like it's Coca-Cola. I love making up phrases that stick. And in today's prediction, surprised Dave didn't pipe up there. He's busy reading something.
He's busy.
Or he died. He died with his eyes open.
I didn't hear anything. I just reconnected.
Oh, good.
He's got to hear this. Sorry, audience. I have to.
You didn't see my technical expertise to bring myself back online. Okay, what did I miss?
Okay, well, it's I was just saying that it's predictions time, and here at the Now We Know Better podcast, we love to make predictions. In fact, we love to make predictions like they're Coca-Cola. And I'm going to register that phrase because it's catchy. I love making up phrases.
That's what
I've never heard it before. I love it.
That's all my good material, Tom. It's just he's got a catalog of stolen one-liners and witty replies.
Okay, well, in today's predictions segment, we will gaze back into our political crystal ball, talk a little more about federal politics, because the federal opposition leader Pierre Poilievre is facing a mandatory leadership review in January, triggered by the Conservative Party's loss after their failure to form government in the last federal election. He even lost his own seat in Ottawa, raising questions about his future. But will he emerge stronger, or will the delegates toss him aside like an empty can of Coca-Cola? Dave, what do you think?
No, he'll survive a non-confidence vote. He took the party to within a hair's breadth of forming government. He grew the percentage of the popular vote to 41, and I think just a shade over 41%, which is historically a threshold for a Conservative Party to reach governing status. The unique circumstances in the last federal election saw the collapse of the federal NDP, the New Democratic Party, which always siphoned a little bit of the more leftist voter away from the Liberal Party, and that failed to materialize. So he actually performed better than the previous election. He grew the party. That doesn't mean to say he doesn't have difficulties. I think his main problem is attracting female voters, and particularly middle-aged female voters. They do not support him, but no, I think he'll survive a confidence vote by the party. I think that right now what's happening is the Liberals are giving all their efforts to trying to have one or two members, which recently another member crossed the floor from the Conservative to the Liberal Party. That is probably, yeah, like that. That is the biggest issue I think the party's facing. But I don't think that.
Dave, is there more to come? More floor crossings, do you think?
I think there is.
Whoa.
I think we're going to see another floor crossing. I think they're working overtime, poaching. And you got to remember that the GTA, or the Greater Toronto Area, that was predominantly a Liberal dominated area. And we saw a swing to more Conservatives in the area. But even then, the margins of victories in a lot of those ridings are tight. And there's less of an incentive, or less of a reason to think twice. You know that you can make the move knowing that if you were in a tight riding that went Conservative and you've got a new popular prime minister, chances are you can cross the floor and retake that seat in the next election. It'd be a little different than if you were to cross the floor and you were a member of a Conservative Party, let's say in Abbotsford, which has never voted a socialist or a Liberal member of Parliament. Then you basically put a knife to your own throat, and you're out for the next election.
You know, the other thing. Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was going to add to Dave. You know, I was coming into this predicting that he will be booted out. That's probably my personal preference. I like Pierre Poilievre. I really thought he was going to be our dream candidate when he came along. And we go, finally, we've got somebody with really great ideas. And he does have great ideas, because the Liberals steal them all the time.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, exactly.
And he's dynamic. He's got an immigrant wife. I mean, he checks a lot of boxes, and he's intelligent, and he speaks very well.
He was a foster child.
He was a foster child. He grew up in the West, but he speaks perfect French, or very, very, very good French. He checks all the boxes. I don't think there's anybody coming up behind him that could even hold a candle to him at the moment. I think he was a victim of some bad timing when Trump won, and Justin Trudeau was tanking, and it looked like Pierre Poilievre was going to cruise into the prime ministerial seat unopposed and have a majority a Mulroney majority for quite some time. And then Trump won. They put Carney in, and Carney said, we gotta have elbows up. We have to beat Trump because of the tariffs. And as soon as that mixture came into play, it was a fatal combination for
you're right,
for Poilievre. And I don't know.
It was a Trump initiative.
It
Like,
was.
It was still not a foregone conclusion that Carney would take the election. It's that Trump handed them the perfect platform to run on.
Yeah,
and for the life of me, I can't understand what the motive for Trump to do such a thing would be.
that doesn't make any sense.
Preferring to deal with a liberal prime minister, or Carney personally, than Poilievre.
Yeah, I've listened to Trump a lot on that kind of thing, and I have to believe his political handlers probably gave him that guideway or that pathway, and he had to come up with some talking points on that, is what I'm thinking. Because he said he didn't even know Pierre Poilievre. He's probably a fine fellow, but Carney is world established and blah. I mean, it could be the false flag thing where Trump really just wants to weaken Canada.
Well,
he wants to.
I believe that more than anything.
Yeah.
I
He
think
said it out loud multiple
He wanted to
times.
get more. He wants to get more from Canada, and simple as that. And however he has to do that, he's going to do it.
It's interesting. Last week they reported, or just a few days ago, the previous month saw the first time since the Trump election, or the federal election, I should say, in Canada, that our exports outpaced or are larger than our imports.
Yeah.
So you know what? Things aren't quite as doom and gloom as they may appear to be.
No, they aren't. So, Tom, this is not your preference, but what do you think was going to happen? Is he out or is he in?
We need fresh leadership, but he's going to stay in. He'll survive, and maybe the winds of political change and fortune will blow his way in the next year.
Well, what do you think what do you think the percent of the delegates? What's the kind of support numbers do you think? 70%? I think you need like 70%, wouldn't you?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it depends how many stages they go through, but I think eventually at the end of the day, it'll be over 70%, probably 75, 80%. And people will still say that's not enough.
Yeah.
Well, that's personally, I love Pierre Poilievre. I think he's brilliant. I think he has great ideas. I think he'll move Canada in the right direction, not without some pain, because to move this Titanic ship around, it's not just he gets in and we're all of a sudden going to be in great shape. No, we're in bad shape in Canada, and the pay down to even just to get the deficit down is going to be a chore. But if anybody can do it, I think he can.
The deficit down, well, that's impossible right now. I think Carney just doubled it or something. It just went through the roof.
Yeah. But for Poilievre, even after Poilievre is if he was to form government, I mean, it would take a long time to steer that ship in the right direction. You just don't take the deficit from 80 billion down to zero.
Yeah, but that's Mark has capital investments there. You guys are confusing things. You're looking at the operating budget and also the capital budget being included. That's not fair.
There's a lot of people that are fear-mongering or rumor mongering about Carney, that he's corrupt, he's on the take, he's paying off these conservatives to cross the floor. It sounds all very conspiratorial to me. Do you guys believe that? Any truth to that kind of thing, that he's actually on the take?
Yeah, I think he is, through all of his holdings in the States, like Brookfield. Like, I mean, he's got a lot of assets and stocks held through some major companies, and that he's making decisions on for policy in Canada that he shouldn't even be making decisions on because there's conflict.
I don't worry about that as much. He's always wanted to be prime minister. When he was in university, they used to call him Mr. Prime Minister. His ambition was always to be where he's at now. So I don't think he's looking to enrich himself in that regard. I worry a bit more about his loyalties as it relates to larger things like the UN and its its fascination with net zero and saving the planet from overheating. Like, he's still a net zero carbon emissions, keep it in the ground kind of guy. And
Yes.
I just hope that he isn't, soft pedaling this down the road so he can buy time. I'm really looking forward to Danielle Smith keeping this topic front and center and not letting him run out the clock on the whole file as they dither it away to the next election.
She's got her own battles too. She just got put in for a recall. Did you hear that?
I know, that's hard to believe.
I think there's 40. I think there's 40 of them. But goes to show you what happens when public sector unions become too strong and they can organize effective recall campaigns. And you know what? Like, the recall initiative in the legislation has come back to bite her and her party a little bit.
Yeah,
but I don't think that's going to go anywhere.
I agree.
Well, if you've made it this far into the show, congratulations. Either you're thoroughly entertained or you've developed an unusual tolerance for ramblings, which Dave is pretty good at. And Dave's going to start looking a lot better soon because he'll be almost like right out of the frame. But either way,
I saw Tom lean in the earlier. He was going across.
Why not make it official? Become a Now We Know Better insider. That's right. Hit that like button. Share this pod with someone who could use some sensical yet chaotic talk in their life, or better yet, subscribe. It's free. Do it now. Not only does it help us spread this. What
does it cost? What does it cost them to be part of this?
Subscribe?
Yeah,
it's free.
Oh,
can you believe it?
Why are we doing it?
Yeah, you're not getting any money out of this. Gold.
Hey, and it's commercial free too. Unlike all those other ones, you have to listen to Black Rifle Coffee or buy gold from the Gold Guy. It goes on and on and on. You know, these podcasters have to change their tune. It's getting.
No, I think we have to. I like that idea.
They're all about the money, Tom. We're down to earth. We're those ground floor guys.
Yeah, we are. Yes. We're for the people.
And by becoming a Now We Know Better insider, you do it grants you this unlimited early access to our podcast as well.
Are we giving away caps or anything? Like, are we also giving away free merch? Let's just really go broke.
As long as they don't have our faces on anything, I'm sure they'll be popular. All right, moving on. You've already subscribed out there. Thank you so much. Appreciate that.
Thank you.
Dave will be diving into the many faces of AI. Does that mean a chatbot that answers your emails? The robot that vacuums your floor? The algorithm that keeps recommending cat videos to you? I don't even want to imagine what your algorithm recommends to you, Tom. Or, of course, the one that insists it can replace your job. Spoiler alert. It still can't make a decent cup of coffee.
Oh, boy.
Either way, it's a crowded room. Dave.
So wait a sec. Is he going to talk about artificial intelligence?
Well, that's AI. Yeah.
Oh, I thought it was AI, like artificial insemination.
No.
See,
that'd be a good topic, though. What can you?
I had all my
delve into that next week.
Yeah, that's why your algorithms send you what they send you, Tom.
Okay.
Yes. All right, Dave. How many faces of AI are there in our world?
Okay. You know what? unfortunately old enough that when the internet first came around, we were middle-aged. But when we were first introduced to that concept of the World Wide Web in 1995, I mean, its history dates back prior to that, but it really became part of the public domain in the mid to late 90s. And now, it is ubiquitous. Everyone knows it. Everyone uses it. It's an essential part of life. Well, we are at that same inflection point with artificial intelligence, and that phrase gets thrown around pretty loosely. But artificial intelligence is really many things. It's not just one thing. We use it for editing, whether we want to create text or an image. We use it for supporting driving platforms now. So there's many different arenas that the artificial intelligence finds itself playing in. And what we're going to do is we're going to take a brief look at artificial intelligence and the different types of artificial intelligence. It has evolved, and it has evolved to a point where we are at a super critical point for artificial intelligence. In the past, artificial intelligence were really basically reactive machines. We asked a question, we put some inputs, and it gave us an answer. A good example of this would have been IBM's Deep Blue. You remember the competition where it wasn't all that long ago where it finally beat the world. Who was the chess champion? Capra? Yeah, I've lost your audio, but Gary
Kasparov.
Yes, Kasparov.
200.
And that program really analyzed all the different possible moves that were available to it at that moment and made the move. And eventually it would win the game. And when the game was over, it had no memory of the game. It would start over and play the game anew against, a different player or the same player. We progressed to the point where we now have what's called limited memory AI. And that's what, we're using now. It's limited memory. It takes information from the recent past, and recent, I guess, is subjective, but the recent past to inform it to make current decisions. And a good example of that would be a self-driving car. It holds a certain amount of memory. It takes parameters into effect, the position of the car relative to the lane it's in, the speed the car is going, other information outside of those that are important. It then will react to and then judge its decision and make adjustments if necessary. And that's really where we're at, even with the most advanced self-driving car. And my neighbor just purchased the Tesla Y. He's waiting for delivery, but he went in for a test drive, and I think he went to Langley. He said he took that car from Langley to White Rock, which is 20-minute drive, and from White Rock to his home in Abbotsford, and that would have been a 40-minute drive, and never touched the steering wheel. And that's all using, this current level of artificial intelligence. The real brains.
Can I interrupt for a second and just give you a self-driving car story that I just experienced yesterday? So they have them. I'm in Arizona, as you guys know, currently, and they have the self-driving cars down here. Like, there's no driver. It's they're taxis without a driver, basically. And so I pulled up behind one, and I'm gonna test it out a little bit here. So I thought, how close can I get to it before it doesn't like it? I pulled up close to it, and it moved forward, and And I pulled up really close to it again. And it kept edging forward. I kept doing it until I couldn't move anymore because there was a car in front of it. So I found that was kind of interesting. But
You
it's, yeah,
should push it into an intersection. Cause a pile up.
yeah, maybe it has
Was it a
doesn't have that.
Waymo? Was it a
Waymo, yeah.
Waymo?
Yeah,
Waymo.
Waymo. That's pretty cool. Anyway, sorry.
So, and the real interesting future is what's called agentic AI, agentic AI, I should say, and that's where the AI has a certain degree of autonomy. It will take inputs and strategize, and will take information and make decisions on your behalf without really requiring more than the initial input. So it has a high degree of reasoning that is built in, and there'll be interconnectivity between different platforms, which will allow it to work more collaboratively when it's doing what it's doing. And this is going to be the future, and it's already being somewhat tested. There's companies out there that are particularly in the logistics arena, where you can have a package that the logistics company, the AI system will detect that or receive notice that there's a delay in the production of this item that was scheduled to be picked up, and the AI will do all the background logistics, including rescheduling, altering inventory levels, and sending emails out to notify clients or suppliers of the situation. Wow. So it's going to be much more involved in the day-to-day operations, both of business and people in how they plan their events and schedules. Now, there's two big players in the AI game. As far as
I'd say there's more than that.
Well, the two biggest players, the two dominant players are, and I'm not talking companies, I'm talking countries, are China and the US. Yes, there's lots of players at the platform level for the different AI offerings. I think right now Gemini is considered the front runner with the latest release of, is it Gemini 3 that is released?
Yeah.
But there's several companies vying and spending billions of dollars to be the dominant player. As far as countries go, the United States is seen as the leader. It has the best research. It's got the most private investment and the highest level of top tier talent. Now, there are weaknesses to that advantage in that it lives within a highly regulated environment that can slow down the adoption rate. There potentially can be 50 different regulatory bodies in this United States, where if each state in the union has its own parameters and laws that govern how the AI can work within its jurisdiction. So that's a potential weak point, and it's the high cost of running these data centers that are another obstacle for the U.S. as a whole environment to compete with China. Their strengths are that they are leading in the volume of research and patent filings regarding the use of AI, and they are very rapidly scaling up the deployment of AI backed by a national strategy. They also have a formidable advantage in the amount of energy infrastructure they've been put in place in anticipation of the high energy requirements that is going to be needed for this AI to develop out. And that's
what are they putting in? Are they putting in nuclear or?
Oh, they're putting in coal-fired nuclear. They've got a portfolio that includes green initiatives, but they're maybe 5%. But it's nuclear, lots of coal, but nuclear is going to be where they're really pushing forward. And there is a critical or the possible Achilles heel for the United States, because there is a real shortage in terms of what energy the U.S. has and what it's going to need. Right now, you're even seeing energy prices, the cost of energy going up in the U.S., where businesses outside of AI requirements and consumers aren't really showing a rapid increase in their desire for more energy. It's the AI companies that are really starting to be hungry for new energy and are driving up some, energy rates in jurisdictions in the States as they pay for the energy they need.
Don't you think that's just an interim gap until these data centers actually have their own electrical generation units?
Well, yes, but then we fall back to the regulatory environment where to build what they need to have built, they can't wait 10 years to get approvals. There's some hope that the U.S. will agree upon, for example, let's say nuclear, where they don't have one-off designs. They have a design that is approved and it is rolled out across multiple jurisdictions, cutting down the timelines needed. There's also problems at nuclear. It's one behemoth that, whereas, if you put up a big nuclear power plant, a large nuclear power plant, well, that is different. That should be in a different regulatory environment than a small nuclear, a modular nuclear reactor, which is far less complicated, far safer, and should need much shorter timelines to approval. Right now, China has between a 30 and 50% advantage in cost of energy, just because and probably partially because they subsidize, but that they've made an effort to grow their energy basket. I heard it reported that China puts on every year 1 terabyte worth of added energy. Well, the entire U.S. market is like 3 terabytes. So that is a lot of energy being put into the system, where if you're going to have AI systems running, you're going to be looking for jurisdictions that have that capacity. Also interesting is the fact that a lot of the programs or the offerings like Gemini or Grok or ChatGPT, they're proprietary and they have closed systems. Whereas in the US, or I should say in China, I don't know if you recall back, I think it was early in summer, where China demonstrated, and I think it was a company called Moonshot, demonstrated their AI capabilities. And they trained a model on I think the exact number was $4.6 million to develop the model. And it generated results similar to what the big companies in the US, Google and
OpenAI,
Anthropic, what they generated. Now there's some dispute as to what they really are including in that, in the cost way. But it shows that they are there, that they can do it at a fairly cheap rate.
What does this mean? What does this mean to the average consumer out there, the average Canadian, the average American? We're not going to they're going to put their data centers over in China, and it's most likely that our governments are not going to let us do all our surfing on Chinese data centers, even if they are less expensive. Are we talking something beyond the consumer, beyond the business user? Are we talking like national security? Is that
Well,
where
I think what happens is the Chinese will have the architecture that most of the world navigates to. So they'll be the gatekeeper, and that's
But really,
probably,
do you really think that that's going to happen with the regulatory restrictions that Congress is going to put on? They're not going to let you. They're not going to let.
But what are you going to do? Box it? You're going to box yourself in. I mean, it's like a tariff wall.
Well, there you go.
So then you're not going to be the default platform that the free world operates off of. You know,
Well, I mean,
tariffs will.
You're saying that China's already ahead of us to a degree, and we're still using OpenAI, and we're still using Gemini and all, and those guys don't have data centers in China, I'm willing to bet, unless they're for the Chinese market.
No, China's behind. They're ahead on the energy part of it, so they're prepared. And even the data, the chipsets that China is using is not as advanced or as capable as what the U.S. firms are using. I think Trump allowed the sale of some NVIDIA chips, a certain model of NVIDIA chips to China, but it's significantly below their best chips.
Yeah.
So the on that end, but China has demonstrated that they can throw, they can develop a credible AI program using less high-tech chips and throwing more energy at it.
So does that affect our consumer landscape? Is that what you're saying? Like Chinese people are going to be more informed than we are, because it is a communist society.
Well, I don't think they'll be more informed. They're gonna have their data or information still monitored and filtered for domestic consumption. I think it's more the practical side of implementing AI within all the different systems, whether it's government, whether it's healthcare, whether it's in transportation. It's how fast that's going to happen. And if that bottleneck is that you cannot provide the energy to make that transition, you're going to slow the rate at which you can transform your economy and your society to a more AI dependent and more, maybe dependent's not the best word to use, but an economy that utilizes AI to its best advantages. There's going to be government departments that are going to be leaning heavily on AI. I think medicine is going to be saved by AI. We can't continue to be allocating the amount of money we allocate in the way of health budgets that never seem to be enough.
Is it just a matter of they're going to have more processing power at a cheaper rate, but we're going to be more innovative and do better shit with it, because that's just the way we are in a free capitalistic society?
Well, I think you're right. I don't, centrally planned economies never innovate very well. I mean, that's just a fact of life. And I do believe that Trump specifically recognizes the dangers of having strict environmental policies that curtail the expansion of the energy industries in the U.S. They have to make sure that when it's necessary, they have the power available to feed the beast. And this beast is going to be hungry because the data centers require lots and lots of power. Now, having said that, there's some demonstrations that they are now doing more with less energy input. So, I can't help but think that over time, every token is going to require less energy than it is currently the case.
That will happen undoubtedly, because of course the biggest reason they need energy is because electrons have to move through silicon, and that requires friction, or it generates friction, which generates heat, and it's all based on that. So if they can get that operation more efficient, less voltage, colder, not as much heat is required, and then they can get unlimited down the road somewhere, hopefully soon in our lifetime. Fusion energy kind of should solve a lot of this stuff, shouldn't it?
Well, once you get to the point, there's this notion that fusion energy is free energy. It will be affordable energy, because I can't help but think that a fusion reactor is anything but an inexpensive proposed option.
Well, they're spending billions just to get to the point where they're 22-second sustained fusion reaction, and we're billions of dollars in. So yeah, it's going to be super expensive.
Well, and you think, what would the lifespan of a fusion reactor be? You want to talk about intense heat and pressures, like
100 million degrees. What are they going to? I don't know. They haven't figured that. I haven't quite cracked that nut yet. I haven't given my fusion update for a couple of podcasts, but I will. There's some shit coming up.
I tell you, like all these engines now with Toyota and GM and who else? There's another major manufacturer in the race to become more efficient. Now, thankfully, Trump has relaxed the CAF rules, the mandated mileage requirements out of your fleet, but they were decreasing the displacement of engines to increase efficiencies, but in doing so, they increase pressures, they increase heat, there's higher stress loads, and of all manufacturers, like Toyota is usually way up here insofar as quality and technical know-how. Engines are blowing up now because it's just they're trying to get too much out of these power plants.
Yeah, no, that's good. That's going to be a big problem. And the maintenance costs. You won't be able to go to your local backyard mechanic and get something, change the spark plugs anymore. That's gone.
Gone. So it's a couple of questions to bring it back down to practical terms for our listener. I've got a couple. One, would you ever download and utilize Chinese AI?
I just lost you on audio, so you guys take over while I.
Yes, we already asked that question to Dave, and he answered it. He said that it's going to be mostly for public consumption locally for them.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay.
He already sort of answered that one.
Answer that, but if it was available to you, would you utilize Chinese AI?
That's a good question. I mean, I don't think it'll be available to us, but if it was, then yeah, I guess we would use it on the assumption that the government sanctioned it.
Okay.
Well, again, they're making their architecture open source, so there may be many companies, private companies, anywhere in Europe or in Canada or elsewhere that decide to use that platform to develop their AI models.
Yeah.
AI is still foreign to a lot of people. Artificial intelligence, they don't really know what it means necessarily, particularly if you get to a little bit of the aging population. Not sure they see a need for it. Just to give them an idea as to the importance of it and why maybe they should consider learning more. How often are you two using AI on your daily routines?
I use it daily now, Tom.
Yeah, daily. I would say that if you took it away from me, I would probably have lost like about a year or two of progress.
Well, I would think it's unavoidable. I'm sure you use it daily without knowing it. I mean, Google defaults now to Gemini on a typical normal inquiry.
No, I use it knowingly, daily, multiple times. From sometimes the most mundane of things to the sometimes things that I just, as an example, I had given a loan to a guy a few years back, 2021, I believe it was, and it was a smaller loan. It was 125 grand, and so he came into some cash. His dad wanted to give him some money. He was falling ill. Unfortunate situation. He came into some cash and he says, "Wim, can you give me my balance on what I owe you?" I had AI print out the schedule based on, how many payments he's made, what the interest rate was, original amount, and it gave me the schedule basically in 5 seconds.
Wow.
If I had to do that by hand, that would have taken me probably 3 or 4 hours. So from the most mundane to something like that, I just find it incredible. Just to, for those people out there who are saying, well, I can't see how I would use it in my everyday life. You will. You will use it in your everyday life. It helps you out in so many ways.
You know what's interesting, Wim, is what I found with AI, it teaches you to think through your inquiry. When you use AI, you really, to get the most out of it, you have to formulate a question or an inquiry that is as detailed and thoughtful as possible. And then when you first start, you stumble through it, but boy, when you start knowing that the better the question, the better the results, it's enlightening, and it shows you really it's worthwhile to think something through prior to engaging in something.
Yeah, AI can go as deep as you can go, or deeper. Like there's no
deeper,
end
probably.
You can ask it a simple, what is the meaning of life? And it'll give you a very esoteric, ethereal explanation about the meaning of life. Pages of it if you want, but you can get very, very much deeper into my microbiology and the actual cell structures, and it'll go to the meaning of life physically and biologically. It gave me a complete recovery regime for my QL, my quadratus lumboris injury. Lumborum.
Yeah, the one I had removed.
Yeah, the one
I had that removal surgery for that thing.
It gave me, it said, would you like a complete recovery exercise regime on dealing with this and what not to do and what to do? And it did it all. It set it all up for me, and I'm on that road to recovery because I used AI instead of going into a doctor or spending, hate to say it, guys, but maybe $300 or $400 on a chiropractor or a massage therapist, which I would have done. I didn't have to do that because I alternately use dynamic stretching and certain exercises that have helped me. So it's unforeseen what's going to happen with the use of AI.
It's unforeseen. And even as our listener had experienced earlier on, our email bag jingle came from artificial intelligence.
It did.
So, there's so much that it is there for us to use right now, and who knows where it's going to end up. Is there a point? I know you can pay for upgraded versions. At what point is it worthwhile someone maybe determining whether paying for the upgrade is worth it or not, Tom?
Well, I think you'd be having to do some pretty deep research to be able to want to pay up for it. Like you'd have to be a corporation enterprise with maybe 500, 1,000 people, or you're doing some major cutting edge, on the edge technology research that AI can help speed things up for you. It was said, I think I did this article. Did I talk to you guys on the podcast several podcasts ago about how it would have happened had AI existed for Einstein? Would he have discovered the theory of relativity faster?
Yes, I heard that was a test that they performed.
Yes, and it was a test that I actually performed, and it's true that even with a genius like Einstein, it would have sped him up as much as 7 years because of some of the learning that he had to go through for some sort of, I can't even remember the terminology now, but some sort of crazy calculus that he had to be able to use to come up with it. So even back then. So I guess what I'm saying is that it can benefit anybody.
Oh, Tom,
But for most of us, we just have to pay a small amount or free, I think.
so I to your comment, I was taken from a different point. There was an experiment that was, I don't know if it was proposed or whether it's been done, where they feed a large language model all the information that would have been available to Einstein at the time to see if it would discover the theory of relativity on its own.
Oh, without any direction.
Without any direction.
I bet you it wouldn't have.
No, it would probably still be beyond its capability in that regard. That's theoretical.
I don't think you can give AI ambition.
Yeah.
That's probably a good way to put it. Well, thank you, Dave. Thanks, Tom. That's some interesting stuff, and we're going to be talking more and more about it. But for our listener out there, don't get lost in the dust. If you're not using AI yet, you should be, and you will learn to love it, as all of us do here on the pod.
I agree.
But right now, boys and girls, yes, it's that time
for Tom to lose.
Point, counterpoint. It's a nice, fun way, not too intense way to end the show. Our point, counterpoint segment is where Dave and Tom are thrown into the ultimate verbal showdown. The rule's simple. I hand them a topic that they have no prior knowledge of, and then assign them a stance. Like it or not, they must fiercely defend their given side, putting their debate skills to the test. Their mission, argue with passion, conviction, and just the right amount of theatrical outrage, all in the pursuit of that coveted prize, the gloating opportunity. And most wonderfully, I get to play judge and jury, deciding who presented a better argument. And all right, you know what's coming next. Are you two ready?
Have you already corrupted him, Tom? Is it a foregone conclusion? Have you paid him?
I gave him $20. I don't know how much you gave him.
Okay, there is an affordability crisis in North America with people having to turn to renting a home with the hopes of ever owning a home dwindling. Great, Ben, and that number, I don't have the statistic, but it's like over 60% of young people, again, I don't have the exact figures, but they don't think they'll ever own a home. A great many people are barely able to afford rent, let alone food and other necessities of life. Some would argue that rent caps are a lifeline for tenants, drowning in these skyrocketing costs, and ensure housing isn't just for a luxury for the wealthy. Without intervention, the market leaves too many behind. Others argue that rent caps they are actually good in theory, but they backfire in practice, and that there are other ways to deal with the situation because rent caps have meant too many drawbacks. Rent caps or no rent caps. And so we're all clear, rent cap is where the government kind of steps in and prevents landlords from increasing rents or just maxing the amount that a landlord can charge a tenant for rent in whatever space that might be. So you two now know what's coming next.
Okay.
All right. Rent caps. Dave, as far as you're concerned, any government involvement is too much. You're going to defend that. Why rent caps should not be put into place. Now, Tom, people are desperate out there. You feel that rent caps are essential or there will be homeless chaos. Dave, you were the ultimate fail last week, so see how you can convince me that no government oversight is the best option.
He had to go to the hospital for stitches on that last.
Government got us into the whole mess we're in. Do we really want them to be the ones to get us out of it? They create the problem. Let the private sector fix it. All we want and need from all levels of government is to remove regulatory barriers that are driving up costs and make it more affordable for developers to acquire land. Don't make it so difficult when you place land restrictions, and obviously in areas where it's better suited for residential development. I'm thinking agricultural land reserves, where the only thing that's growing is some hay for some cows and some hobby horses. So we need to make sure that private industry isn't hobbled by overly onerous development fee charges to hook into often existing infrastructure, that they're not hindered by zoning restrictions that make it near impossible to, and I'm not talking high rises in this case, just to put a multi-unit development on a residential plot that may be 8,000 square feet, you can get 3 units. We have to have the government NIMBYism taken out of the equation. The more that you have government stepping in to try to solve this problem, the more you drive up costs. If they want a rent freeze, sure, put a rent freeze in, and you'll have every developer sitting on the sidelines for the next decade, as they have no incentive to build rental units or affordable accommodations. I'm all for bringing more units online. I just don't want it to be the government that's leading the initiative.
Okay, well, that's a lot of good points there, Tom.
Yeah.
Hard to argue any of them as far as I'm concerned. But as far as you're concerned, government imposed rent caps is the only answer.
Yes, I mean, Dave obviously touched on a few good points that I would even concede to him, like the development costs on an average standalone home is around $83,000. That's your base cost to build a house right out of the gate before you even put a shovel in the ground, because the government does get involved. But the government gets involved, maybe too much, but for a reason when it comes to rent caps. And it's very important to understand that shelter is a basic need, like food. Shelter is a basic need. Food is regulated. They have food inspectors. They make sure that the food is delivered cleanly, and that there is some price manipulation out there. But for the most part, it's market bare. But there's definitely oversight, and the same thing has to happen with some of the other essential needs, like housing, especially in markets where it's busy. And so rent caps are maybe not as needed in sort of rural areas, Wim, where there's really not a lot of growth going on. There's not a lot of people going there. And so it's a rather static environment. And so you can let the market rule there. But where it's a hot market, for instance, in Vancouver or Toronto or maybe Ottawa, you've got, or some places in New York, like New York City or Los Angeles, where you've got a very hot market, you have to put on a cap, or at least a regulator on the rent. And the reason you have to do that is because the market vagaries that go up and down like this, like a sine wave, would mean that here, incredibly expensive rents, if you didn't have government control, expensive rents, people can't, all of a sudden homeless goes up and you've got social programs up the wazoo because people can't afford the rents. And then what happens is the typical market cycle, it crashes down, and then the places are in state of disrepair. You have ghettos and you have people living in these things, but they're not upkept. And so with shelter, just like food and maybe some other necessities, but for those ones for sure, you've got to regulate that. You've got to bring the lows up and you got to take the highs down. You just got, it's okay if you have a little bit of space in between there, but you have to stop that threshold above and below, or you do have what you said, which is the chaos. And we've seen it happen. I mean, it happens in these urban areas where there is no rent control. And that's why all of the urban areas pretty much have rent control in them, because you have to regulate that market. Otherwise, you have people on the street, and then you have them in the home, and then they're on the street again. And if it's a hot market, like it is in Vancouver, this is the This is the only way to go. I'm not a big government guy by any means, but I can I'll give you an example. I've got a friend that lives downtown on McNaughton, I believe it is. So it's right down in the Vancouver sort of West End area, and he's paying, I think, like $1,200 for a 3-bedroom apartment. He's been renting that thing forever, and they can only increase it 3%. So the good thing is that he can afford it. He can afford to raise his family there. The bad thing is that it's not getting updated. It's not getting brand new KitchenAid equipment. But who gives a shit? I mean, everything doesn't have to be new every 3 years. It's okay if it's old, if the rugs are a little bit old, if there's not new paint on the damn thing or new appliances every 5 years in there. He's quite happy with that. That's the way our ancestors grew up. We had appliances. Everything was old, and it was old for a long time. The washing machine was 50 years old. So there's nothing wrong with old stuff for some people, and you have to be able to house those people because they're the ones in the urban areas that are kind of like the service workers, if you will. They're not making the huge money. They're making a moderate income or even a low income, but they're needed. They're heavily needed for the service industry. Otherwise, who's going to make your latte, serve your Subway sandwich, and keep the streets clean, whatever. So you need that. And if you don't have that, then it's only the fittest that survive inside the urban areas. Where are these people going to go? They're going to be in the suburbs or somewhere else or living homelessly, but then serving you a Subway sandwich after they dusted the grime off the street from sleeping overnight. So you have to have them. There's no two ways about it.
That's some great points, Dave. I don't know is your rebuttal gonna clinch the win here?
Tom acts as though there's no tents being sold. Like there's accommodations that will always be available, Tom. And to
rent vacancy is less than 1% in Vancouver.
To imply that government supported housing projects are somehow maintained.
I'm not supporting.
No,
I'm not saying
it's quite the opposite. You ever heard of the projects? I believe it was Chicago that big housing initiatives in the 60s, and almost immediately fell into disrepair and had to be torn down. That's just simply not the answer. And to use your example that your friend has $1,200 rent, when the cost to build a new apartment block would put that rent at maybe $3,000, will just doom every person that ever wants to come into the market to not having anything to move into. Exactly. No developer's ever going to want to build in such a scenario. And another great example for our Canadian listeners is government getting involved to make things cheaper. Really? Do we have cheaper eggs? Do we have cheaper milk? Do we have cheaper chicken? Are those government regulated commodities, necessities cheaper because government's got involved?
Nice try.
It's become more expensive. What you're going to have is government becoming involved, having their favored developers who enrich themselves greatly, and sure, you're going to offer cheap accommodation that just piles on the deficit because it's got to be paid for somehow.
Let me go back to 30 seconds and rewind the tape there because we went on for a while. You talked about food, but I already deposed the argument of food and eggs. It's not about price with food. It's about safety. It's about quality. You don't mind.
Really?
Yeah, you don't mind paying a little extra for an egg, but the damn egg better be FDA inspected or Canadian Food Inspection Agency inspected so that you're not eating an egg full of E. coli. With rent, it's a different thing. It is more price sensitive with rent. They're not saying, like, the government's not regulating, saying you better have a Genair appliances and you better have a Wolf stove in there, or you can't let people move in. That's not what they're saying. They're not saying
you have to interject.
It just has to be.
No, Tom wants to give them an apartment and they can starve to death because they can't afford the food.
Affordability, safety with food, affordability with shelter. It's obvious. Anybody.
He's really slipping. Well, he's really slipping.
Okay, well, you know what? You both put up strong arguments. There's no doubt about that. I'm going to say Dave, your argument, particularly slanting government as a inefficient and incapable means of offering things that are anywhere cheaper than any public sector, private sector should say. Sorry. I have to say that that's a good argument. They're not going to do anything cheaper, but we're just talking rent caps. We're not talking them
Exactly.
actually operating anything. So
He was losing so poorly. He had to pivot to a different argument.
He did try to pivot to a different argument.
Rent caps are directly related to supply.
It was scurrilous.
It affects it. They're tied together.
Scandalous.
And Tom, you're
$20. Is that all it takes? Well, $20.
I haven't awarded anybody yet.
Capitalism.
I
haven't awarded anybody yet. Because Tom's housing as a necessity was a very good argument on his side. It's not just like you're not supporting just some type of infrastructure. You're supporting people and the necessity to have a home. All that being said, I was impressed with both arguments. Even the pivots were impressive because they were trying to throw me off, but I thought they were impressive. So this week, ladies and gentlemen out there, it's a draw. No clear winner. And we don't like that. We don't like that at all.
You're corrupt.
You are corrupt. Yep. Nobody's happy. Nobody's happy.
Well, maybe that's the idea. I like the socialist side of things. Let's make everybody unhappy because they're all marginalized.
Yeah.
All right. Well, gentlemen, I was a little longer than I had anticipated and wanted, but
we say that every time.
I know, but the AI discussion was very interesting and worthy for our listener out there. So I hope they appreciated that. Any last parting comments, gentlemen?
No. Did we do a predictions?
Did we?
Yeah, that's when you went to the bathroom.
Oh, I went to the bathroom during the predictions. Or we predicted I was going to go to the bathroom.
I think I did too.
We predicted for you.
Yeah.
Oh,
geez, you guys. Okay, the predictions are written down. Dave, you suggested that Pierre Poilievre will stay. Tom, you ended up saying that he would stay. I also agreed that Pierre Poilievre will not be booted out. He'll remain the conservative leader after the January.
Why don't we put percentages down? Because Dave brought that up. That'll tighten it up a bit more.
That was good. I don't disagree. Okay, well, we're gonna add to the predictions. Now we're going longer again. Then the predictions. Okay, you guys both predicted that he will remain. So now we're going to look for a percentage. So tell me, Tom, what this percentage is for. What percentage of the delegates will be voting for him to stay? Is that what it is?
Yeah, I believe so. I think that's what it is, right, Dave? It's who votes for him. And it might be a couple of rounds, especially if there's other people. Well, there's no other people. This is just a leadership review.
I don't think it's
there's no other people.
Just a review.
It's just 81%.
Yep. I will go. Shit, that's a really good one, Dave. I'll go 79.
Dave 79.
Yep.
I'm gonna say
79. Tom 79. You said Dave 79. I'm 81.
Yeah,
you're 81.
You got. You're all right. Tom 89. Tom 79.
Oh my
Dave
goodness.
81% will say that they'll support, and I am less confident in that delegation. I'm going to say 75% of the delegates will be in favor of him remaining on as leader.
Yeah.
All right. There it's
there
written in stone. Written in stone.
Perfect.
All right. Well, thanks. Thank you all for listening and watching, and kindly hit that like button, share it with somebody, or better yet, subscribe, because as we mentioned earlier, it's free right there. Subscribe. Not only does it help us spread somewhat balanced information to the masses, but it also encourages us to do more of this. Maybe I actually shouldn't have said that. All right. For David Vanderzalm, Tom McDonald, and myself, Wim, we will see you next time on the Now We Know Better podcast. Bye for now.